it out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 637th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey, me, and the amazing Nancy Wolf.
Thank you, George.
Absolutely. I used to say amazing Tom Fennell. You know, I like to. Now what I'm doing is people ask me how I am, and I say I'm great now that I've seen you. And then I always follow that up, unless I told them that before, with I do say that to everybody. But, you know, people like that. I don't do it to people I dislike.
Yeah,
I
that's
will
good.
say that.
Yeah.
But
Because you don't encourage.
No.
You wouldn't encourage.
No. Anyway, this show is news aggregation for energy and climate change. It's taken from news articles that I've put up for that purpose at my blog, but I put up about 15 articles a day, usually, sometimes fewer. But on the show here, we do about 3 items per day, and that means we normally do 21 in a week. This week, we're doing news from August 14th to August 20th, today being the 21st. So unless you've got more to say about that.
I don't have more to say about that.
Okay. Our first item is a picture of Moai. I'm told that's the pronunciation.
Yeah, so here's our headlines from ABC News. Rising seas could put Easter Island's Moai at risk by 2080, study warns.
Yeah. By the end of this century, rising sea levels could push powerful seasonal waves into Eastern Island's 15 iconic Moai statues, according to a study published in the Journal of Cultural Heritage. About 50 other cultural sites in the area are also at risk from flooding. I really wanted to understand this, because I thought there were more than 15, and it turns out I was right. They're talking about these 15 Moai. And there are almost 900 of them altogether, and they're all over the place, and some of them are lying on their sides, and some of them are incomplete. Some of them were being carved when the whole business of carving them stopped. Nobody really knows what they mean. Nobody knows why they stopped, but they stopped about 500 years ago. They stopped putting them in, apparently. So that is that. Should we go on?
Yeah, let's go on.
Okay. We have a picture of Henrik Andersen, who is the chief executive of Vestas. This item came from Renews.
Yeah, so the headline here is Vestas bullish on U.S. prospects.
Henrik Andersen, Vestas chief executive, is confident that the U.S. onshore wind sector will continue to grow throughout the rest of the decade, despite uncertainties at the federal policy level. The Vestas boss said the company was buoyed by the announcement of an additional 950 megawatt U.S. order in its third quarter intake. And I was puzzled by this until I started really looking at the implications of policy. And if our federal government isn't going to have new wind facilities and new solar facilities being welcomed into the grid, we're going to be. I could actually see rolling out outages in the United States, because we've got these demands from artificial intelligence, from cryptocurrency. You know, it's crazy. And artificial intelligence, by the way, lies.
Yeah.
If you ask it something, it will lie to you.
Yeah, if it doesn't know the answer, it will make it up completely.
Or it'll just get into more and more obscure sources and go into conspiracy theory land and grab whatever it can to give you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's rather indiscriminate. And I saw a really interesting TED talk about looking at photographs and determining whether they were made by artificial intelligence. And the guy who gave the talk showed a photograph and said this was clearly done by it. He didn't say absolutely certainty it was done by artificial intelligence, but he said it looked pretty clear that it was the product of artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence doesn't understand certain things. And, things like shadows and perspective drawings and things like that. It just doesn't really understand all the rules. So now with this thing, where are we going to get the electricity if we don't put up wind power? And that's a big problem. So
Yes.
we're going to go on here. We have the Maersk Hanoi container ship.
Yeah.
That little thing, that little red thing in the lower right corner, that is under the bow. You see it sticks out in front. I actually looked up to find out why that was there.
Okay.
And it turns out that it's there because the ship uses less fuel if it's got that on the bow.
That's cool.
Isn't it? They have a bow wave that goes outward sideways, and then they have another bow wave. I really don't understand how this works, but this thing adjusts them so that they counteract one another, and the result of that is that the ship has less drag going through the water. Anyway, this is from Clean Technica.
Yeah. So our headline is tariffs are a distraction and the end of globalization is a myth.
Many in the administration blithely assume slapping tariffs on everything will solve a host of economic problems. But according to Bloomberg's Chris Bryant, something unexpected is happening. International commerce is simply adjusting its flow to go on a path of less resistance. Who knew people were going to act like, reasonable? I don't know. Okay, we're up to Friday, August 15th, and we have a picture of a wind turbine being assembled from above.
Yeah. So this headline here is 16.5 gigawatts wind build splurge on cards in U.S.
The U.S. will add over 16 gigawatts of wind and nearly 60 gigawatts of solar capacity over the 2-year period from the end of 2024 to the end of 2026, according to projections released by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. This is despite the president's repeated attacks on renewable energy as a, quote, scam, end quote. That's an interesting word to come from Donald Trump. Anyway, during the 2 years, we are scheduled to have 16 gigawatts of wind. This is what I was talking about just a minute ago. 60 gigawatts of solar and 4 of natural gas. Right. So that means natural gas will be 5% of new capacity with all of this new demand building. No nuclear, no coal. 5% natural gas, 20% wind, 75% solar. And where are we going to get generating capacity if we don't put in renewable energy? I don't know.
Gonna have to just stop doing what we're doing.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about. I don't think it'll get as bad as it's been in South Africa, but they have rolling outages in South Africa, and where they don't tell you what time they're going to change things, but all of a sudden the lights go out. Your refrigerator stops, and that's what happens. And if we get into a position where the grid has got to go down, if they have the option of shutting it down in northern New England and to keep it on in New York City, that's what they're going to do, and they'll give us, no notice, 2 hours maybe of outage, and then they'll shift the outage somewhere else. That's the way it's done. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yep.
Anyway, we have a floating solar power plant in Toledo City being in the Philippines.
Yes. So the headline here, this is from Clean Technica. Philippines' first floating solar farm sets a national blueprint for clean energy.
Yeah, the Philippines is entering a new era of energy with a landmark 4.99 megawatts. You'd think they'd go to a nice round 5, but megawatt floating solar plant in the Malubog Reservoir in Toledo City, Cebu. The floating PV farm is a pioneering project, a collaboration between Carmen Copper Corp and Black and Veatch. Now, that you can see it in the picture. It's pretty rectangular, but it's approximately the same size as the thing that we've got in the old landfill. The thing is, the Philippines has got a fair amount of water where they can put stuff like this, and they know it. So
yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we have an item from Renews about the Chevy power plant. Battery project, which it belongs to Harmony Energy.
Yeah. So this is from Renews. Harmony powers up 100 megawatt French battery.
Harmony Energy has energized France's largest battery energy storage project in the port of Nantes-Saint-Nazaire in the 100 megawatt, 200 megawatt hour Chevy, sorry I'm mispronouncing that, facility. It is the country's first large-scale 2-hour duration system, and it's capable of powering 170,000 homes for 2 hours, or 85,000 homes for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Or 42,500 homes for 8 hours. No. Should I explain the 100 megawatt, 200 megawatt hour to people? Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. You have a little tank for kids to play in with, in the water. You have a garden hose. The garden hose is capable of delivering water at a certain speed. Let's just say 5 gallons a minute. Now, that's the speed at which the water can come out. How much water can come out over a period of time? If all of your water is coming from a tank you've got in back and it's being fed from a pump or something like that, that tank is going to run out of water at some point. So here you've got 100 megawatt, which is equivalent to saying the speed at which the water is coming out. This is the speed at which the electricity is coming out. Mm-hmm. The 100 megawatt hour is the amount of energy, which is analogous to the amount of water. So if you have 100 megawatts, then you can power 170,000 homes. If you've got 200 megawatt hours, then you can power those homes for 2 hours. But if you're only powering half that number, you can power them twice as long.
Yeah.
So hopefully my explanation wasn't too horrible. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the next
Yeah.
which is also about batteries.
Yeah. So it's from Renews, and Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners acquires 1 gigawatt-hour beehive battery from EDF.
Okay, I put these things in about acquisitions usually because the thing that's being acquired is under construction. But this is one of those. Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners acquired full ownership of the 1 gigawatt-hour beehive battery energy storage system in Peoria, Arizona, from EDF Power Solutions North America. The 250 megawatt 4-hour facility, which means it's 250 megawatts and 1,000 megawatt hours, is under construction and is expected to enter service in the first half of 2026, according to Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners. And this is big. This is a big battery. Batteries this size are being built all over the world, but you know, it's a big battery, and they're needed for renewable energy. Interestingly enough, they're also needed to back up natural gas and coal and things like that, because baseload power, I think about this often. How would you feel, just to ask you, maybe you'd feel confident, but if a neighbor came to you and said, you know about energy, why is baseload power called baseload? What is baseload power? Would you feel confident about answering that question? Why is it called baseload?
I would.
I'm not asking you to explain it.
I'm
just saying, would you feel confident?
Hearing the words base load,
yeah.
I detect low amount.
Yeah. And it turns out that base load power, the base load is the bottom load. It's the low amount. Low. And the base load is the lowest amount of demand that will happen over a period of time. A base load power plant produces the lowest amount of electricity, the least amount of electricity that you can expect at the plant for its lifetime. And so why would you do that? Because if you don't have the bells and whistles that are required to follow demand, then you can produce power really cheaply. The only problem is you can't produce power and put it on a grid if the demand isn't there.
Yeah.
You have to shut the plant down. And these baseload power plants take time to come up to speed. Nuclear power plants take a week or more to get to full power when they've been shut down for refueling. And what that means is that anything in excess of the base load is supplied by load following plants or peaker plants or other things that are used for that purpose. And the electricity from a load following plant is expensive. And a peaker plant produces electricity that's even more expensive. And you know what's cheaper than anything? Batteries. And not only that, but the electricity from the battery is a higher quality because you can change it almost in an instant, where Northfield Mountain pumped storage, it takes 15 minutes to change it. You've got a big valve and you have to open or close that valve to change the amount coming out. And you know, people don't John Kennedy wanted to have nuclear cruisers. Now, we have nuclear submarines, we have nuclear aircraft carriers. There are reasons why we do. He was behind, I think it was he, was behind the creation of, as I recall, 9 nuclear cruisers, none of which is in operation today. They all were taken off and decommissioned. A couple of them, at least one of them, was decommissioned when it came time to refuel it for the first time. And the reason was because these things had to be able to change their power output instantly, and that cost a huge amount of money. So they were just expensive to run compared to cruisers that were powered by oil. And you can expect the same thing. As far as I don't see, I know that these small modular reactors are supposed to be capable of changing their output, but my understanding is the way they do that is by ganging them together and shutting one down and another down if they want less power.
So it's like daisy chaining.
Yeah, and that's not a 2025 answer to the problem. It's a 1925 answer to the problem.
Yeah.
It's the Model T Ford waiting for the Model A Ford to come along. That's just my opinion. Okay. We did this EDF thing. Mm-hmm. And the next thing we have is about marine heat waves from Euronews.
Yeah. So the headline here is European seas break temperature records. Are they too warm?
Question mark. Yes, they are. In August 2024, the Mediterranean Sea hit a record of 28.7 degrees Celsius, which is 83.7 degrees Fahrenheit. High sea temperatures in Europe fuel marine heat waves that threaten marine life and worsen extreme weather events. In 2024, Europe's seas hit their highest annual average surface temperature on record, which was 13.73 degrees Celsius. I want to point out 83.7 degrees does not sound hot. If you put a brown trout in that, it'll die. It can't take that heat. And the reason is because water loses its ability to maintain dissolved oxygen as the temperature goes up. And these fish need oxygen. Yeah. And at 83.7 degrees, they aren't going to get the oxygen they need to stay alive. In fact, they won't do it at 78 degrees. So for marine characters, this is a problem. And if you look at this picture again, mm-hmm. The thing on the left is a graph of the 2024 temperatures, which is the darkest part of the graph. And you can see that it's way above the temperatures of the previous year. Yeah. And this is record breaking. I don't know how much marine life died as a result of this, but marine life died.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Microplastics.
Yeah.
This from Clean Technica.
Yeah. So, such a great headline. Petro states blow up UN plastics conference.
In March 2022, 175 nations agreed to make the first legally binding treaty on plastic pollution by the end of 2024. Sadly, those countries were not the ones who produce plastics, but the ones who were hurt by plastics. The oil-producing nations are all furiously opposed to limiting production in any way. And my notes say the conference ended without consensus.
Yeah.
And you have a comment on that, I can tell.
Well, I mean, duh. But, I mean, it's just a duh. Like Texas is the petro capital. It's the petro capital, right? I mean, that's of course they're not going to, because that's all that, I mean, that's what this administration is betting on is the petro state.
The petro state, Saudi Arabia is betting on it. Number of countries in that part of the world are betting on it. Mm-hmm. Probably Venezuela, and the list, Russia, and the list just goes on. Russia. And if the UN doesn't come up with a consensus, it doesn't have an action. And that's the way the UN is built.
Yep. Yep.
So, unfortunately. Okay, we're up to Sunday, August 17th, unless you want to talk about more of that.
Oh, no.
Okay. And we have a contrail.
Yeah. Oh, yes, we do. The headline, this is from Energy Digital Magazine, and the headline is, Can Google's AI Stop Aircraft Contrails from Warming Earth?
AI, which tells lies. According to the Royal Meteorological Society, an aircraft's contrails, I'm going to point out the difference between contrails and chemtrails in a minute, could be more responsible for warming the Earth than its carbon emissions. So the contrails that you see here, the trails behind the aircraft, which according to the scientists are made up of ice crystals, clouds, cause more warming of the atmosphere than of the Earth than the carbon emissions. And that could be. To address this, Google has joined forces with American Airlines in a 6-month experiment to reduce contrail formation. Okay, could you put that picture back up, Nancy?
Yes, I can.
I want to point out here, we know that this is contrails because we can see a trail coming out from each engine, and steam, as a scientific phenomenon, is clear and colorless, so it's absolutely invisible. But in order to be steam, it's got to be warm enough that it is a gas, and as soon as it starts to get cooled, it will condense, which is why we have contrails. And you can see that these contrails don't go up to the engines, they start behind the engines. So they have condensed. Now, I'm not saying that this airplane is not dumping chemicals. It could be. I doubt very much that it is. It's an Airbus. It's a passenger airplane, and I should tell people. I used to work in chemical plants, and one thing that I did was I actually manufactured material that was supposed to be dumped out of airplanes, and I made in one batch 1,000 pounds of silver iodide, which was made specifically for the purpose of seeding clouds. And that was the year's supply for the United States Navy. That's not a lot. You know, I mean, this is 20, 50-pound drums. I'm sorry, 40, 50-pound drums. 1,000 pounds. It was 20, 50-pound drums. I was thinking that it was a ton, but it wasn't. It was 1,000 pounds. And if you dump that out of an airplane to seed a cloud, first of all, you're going to be in a cloud when you do it. The second thing is you are going to be putting it out as dust so thinly that you wouldn't be able to see it from the ground, even if you put it out against the blue sky. Now, that is not to say that we don't have people in this country, in the world, who are trying to poison us. We might. But the fact that you've got this kind of stuff going on behind an aircraft, a lot of aircraft, doesn't mean that. What is happening here is the aircraft is producing its own clouds. And I've seen these clouds. You can, if you do web searches for the clouds from space, you can see contrails that run all the way from Boston or New York to some airport in Europe. So this is 3,000 miles of that. And you can find, if you look for it, pictures of World War II bombers and fighters in the air. And their pilots certainly did not want the other side to see where they were, but they've got a contrail there. They can't hide. And I've even seen pictures of contrails that are produced from something other than the combustion behind an aircraft. And for example, anything that gets close to the speed of sound can disturb the atmosphere enough to cause moisture to condense. And it happens that the tips of the propellers of propeller-driven aircraft get that fast. That's why they're so noisy. And I've seen a picture of a propeller-driven aircraft taking off from an aircraft carrier during the Second World War, and the tips of the propellers have contrails behind them. This is something that is extremely complicated to understand. And when people say chemtrails, maybe they're being truthful. I don't know. But honestly, I don't think they know usually either.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Okay, I've said more than I should have on that. Okay, we are up to this, which is a California solar installation from Ed Hat. I have no idea who Ed Hat is. It's a publication, and I found it.
Yeah. So the headline here is California Supreme Court hands victory to rooftop solar panel owners.
The California Supreme Court sided with environmental groups in a case seen as pivotal for rooftop solar power proliferation in California. In a unanimous vote, and I think that's always important when it happens, justices told a lower court to revisit a ruling that upheld reducing payments to solar panel owners. Now that's payments by utilities for electricity that the solar panel owners were producing and putting on the grid. The utilities don't want to pay, they don't want to pay high prices for it. So if I had solar power at home and could provide for the energy in my home, I'd put it on a battery and take it off the grid. That would be and only go to the grid if it was absolutely necessary. But that's just my approach. Okay? Okay. Our next picture is a picture of a solar manufacturing plant. I find it kind of disturbing. This plant has no people in it that I see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, this is from Clean Technica.
So Texas sends yet another solar manufacturing love letter to the U.S.
Texas' booming solar manufacturing sector is sending solar equipment all over the United States to help with the renewable energy transition keep going, regardless of the abrupt shift in federal policy. The Solar Industries Association is telling everyone who listens, the OBBA, which is the one big bronze-plated, it's one big beautiful act. I'm thinking things that I shouldn't say, and how that could hurt Texas. Well, the one big beautiful act is going to hurt Texas and a bunch of other states where this stuff is produced. Tennessee, Ohio, various places that. This was something that I noticed at the time. Joe Biden, his administration was picking places where they were putting renewable energy manufacturing programs. And they were going more to red states than to blue states. And I saw that. I saw it and I thought, Joe Biden is not stupid. He's making sure that people all over the country are getting the benefit of this.
Yeah. And
it happens that the Trump administration is hurting red states more than blue states by trying to reduce production. Okay, we're up to Monday, August 18th, unless you've got more on that.
Let's go.
We have a picture of wind turbines.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is from the Cool Down, and the headline here is Energy Experts Condemn U.S. Government for Giving China an Energy Advantage.
Oh man, this is something that has me so constantly upset all the time. A U.S. Department of Energy report raised questions about delaying renewable energy. Energy Sage reported that the July Resource Adequacy Report, quote, recycled familiar but flawed talking points against renewable energy warranting a closer look at the facts behind the rhetoric, end quote. And this is something that I've been seeing, not consistently from the current federal government, but from the federal government, that it has nonsense being produced. And if we have people lie, it's going to hurt. Mm-hmm. And the thing that bothers me about this more than anything else is that it's being done by people who think of themselves as conservative. And one of the things that conservatives want is to have a government that doesn't pick winners and losers.
Right. Okay.
And so how are we supposed to have the winners and losers? It's simple. They should appear depending on who's going to produce the best product at the lowest price.
You mean without bias?
Yeah, without bias.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, looking at the numbers, I can see very clearly. Nuclear doesn't make it. Coal doesn't make it. Natural gas doesn't make it. No, nothing is better than wind or solar backed up by batteries. As a power source, those are really superior. And I could just go on and on about that. But anyway, we have a very nice picture next of the Colorado River.
Oh, yeah.
In a canyon. I'm not sure where this is. There is, by the way, a road on the left side of that picture. You can see the guardrail, and you can even see the road, but it disappears in the distance.
Yes, it does. This is from ABC News.
Yes.
So the headline here is Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico get less Colorado River water for a third year.
Arizona, Nevada, and Mexico will again live with less water from the Colorado River as drought lingers in the West, federal officials announced. The Colorado River is a critical lifeline to 7 U.S. states, 30 Native American tribes, and 2 Mexican states. And by the way, the 7 states are Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. And 2 of those states, New Mexico and Wyoming, are not even on the river. They're getting water pumped from it. But we've got to beef up the amount of water that's going to the river, and we have to beef up the amount of water that's being stored in the water table. And there are ways to do that, and we're not even trying.
Yeah. I
mean, swales. When was the last time you heard a politician talking about swales? For anybody who doesn't know, a swale is like a ditch that runs along the side of a hill so that the water coming down the side of the hill will get caught in the swale. And the swale will gradually fill up to the point where it overflows possibly, but it'll get full, and it'll stay full until the water has seeped out of it or evaporated, and that puts water into the water table, which otherwise would go down the hill to the river and just go out to the sea, And the Great Green Wall in Africa is a matter of people with picks and shovels digging swales.
Yeah.
And that's how they have shown in one country that they can stop the gradual southern movement of the Sahara Desert. And actually, based on what I've seen this year, when you consider Portugal and Spain and Italy and Greece and Turkey, it looks to me like the Sahara Desert is moving north, and they should build swales there and do other things that are familiar to permaculturalists.
Yeah.
Okay, we're up to Tuesday, August 19th, and we have a picture of a Chevy Silverado.
Yes, we do. This is from Clean Technica. Chevy Silverado EV driven over 1,000 miles on a single charge.
How about that? Who believes it? Recently, a 2026 Chevy Silverado EV was driven over 1,000 miles on a single charge. There were differences from an earlier impressive drive of 460 miles on a single charge. They doubled the record here. For one, the earlier drive was at highway speeds, but the drive that got over 1,000 miles was kept to low speeds. Nevertheless, it is the record. This truck was driven 1,000 miles, mostly at 20 to 25 miles an hour. Yes.
Okay.
What?
I mean, that's one way to get somewhere.
Yeah, it is. They also used 40 drivers. They didn't want to have somebody have to do the whole thing. 1,000 miles at 20 miles an hour, that's going to be a long drive.
Yeah, it is.
And some of the drivers did better than others.
Of course.
And, they say that if they had used just the drivers who were really good, they could have got way over 1,000 miles. Over 1,100 miles at that speed. Yes, we're up to Tuesday, August 19th. Yeah. And we have a picture of solar and batteries in California.
Yeah, so this is from Warp News. The headline here is solar power with batteries became 22% cheaper in 1 year.
Yeah. A new report from Ember shows the dramatic cost reductions of solar power with batteries. The average cost of electricity from such systems dropped 22% in just 1 year. The cost reduction means solar power with batteries can deliver electricity around the clock continuously. Why? Because it means that you can have lots of batteries.
Yes.
And unless you've got a rain from an incredibly overcast day, solar is going to produce electricity every day.
It's like a RAID hard drive, which is sort of an editing thing. Yeah, a RAID hard drive where it's just different pieces, and so that when it is that you need to use the whole shebang,
yeah,
you have available space.
And the batteries are becoming cheap very, very fast. Actually, batteries became cheaper faster than 22%. They had a bigger drop than that. And, people talk about what are you going to do with the waste from solar panels? Well, there are companies that have sprung up to deal with that.
Yeah.
And how are you going to deal with lithium? We've got batteries that are being used now that don't have any lithium in them at all.
Yeah.
And they're we've talked about it, iron oxide batteries and things like that, where as it rusts, it gives off electricity. You give it electricity to charge it and it unrusts. This is not the technology that I was accustomed to when I used to pick up rusty nails from the driveway. Okay. Where are we? Oh yes, here we go. We have an item from Euronews and sunset in Uttarakhand.
So, cloudbursts, deadly climate-fueled deluges cause chaos in India and Pakistan.
Climate change is disrupting monsoons as cloudbursts hit vulnerable mountain regions with deadly force. In a cloudburst, a large volume of rain falls in a very short time, usually over 100 millimeters, which is just shy of 4 inches, in 1 hour. That's a lot. They create chaos in the mountains of India and Pakistan. And the reason I put this picture in is because if you think about rain falling at 4 inches in 1 hour in those mountains, that rain's going to run down the sides of those hills, lickety split, and it's going to hit the streams and the valleys, and you're going to have flash floods all over the place. And that's not good for people who live next to the streams.
No.
But we do have good news, and the good news is in this.
Yes.
The growth of renewables.
Yes. This is from Clean Technica. And here we have the IEA. Renewables will be world's top power source by 2026.
By 2026? That's like 4 months from now. Renewable energy will overtake coal to become the world's top source of electricity by 2026 at the latest. That by 2026 at the latest is in quotes. Say forecasts from the International Energy Agency. They're not kidding. The rise of renewables is driven by extremely rapid growth in solar and wind output, which the Trump administration wants the United States to be no part of, which will pass 6,000 terawatt hours in 2026. 6,000 terawatt hours is a lot of electricity.
That's a lot, yeah.
It's more than I can put in my pocket, I can tell you.
Yeah.
This is, the world is going to
Yes.
renewable energy, and it's going with increasing speed. And the reason is because it is so cheap and, interestingly enough, more reliable than coal. Yeah. And higher quality electricity. And I've explained that many times.
We're moving to this century.
We're moving into the 21st century. And what we're moving away from is the baseload power paradigm, which is over 100 years old. You can define when it started. I've looked it up, and sources say, well, it was started in 1880 or whatever.
Right.
I say it was established by 1925. And this was the stuff that was delivered to my grandmother in New Hampshire by the Roosevelt administration that wanted to get rural electricity pushed. And all of a sudden she had light bulbs in rooms, and they could be used, and instead of kerosene lamps.
Right.
The place still had kerosene lamps when I was a kid, but they were just for backup.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Wednesday, August 20th. We have a picture of Brooke Rollins and an item from Renews.
Yeah. So Washington blocks funding for solar on farmland.
They're doing it.
Yep.
U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins has announced that the U.S. Department of Agriculture will no longer fund solar panels on productive farmland. She doesn't know anything about agrivoltaics, I would bet.
Yeah, probably not.
Certainly doesn't know about the University of Arizona and the, what is that resource in Germany?
CERN?
No, we've talked about it. I think it starts with an F. And what gets into my mind is Fermi, and it has nothing to do with Fermi.
No.
But it's a German resource lab, which they have done agrivoltaics and found that they do better. Yep. You actually get more food from under the solar panels.
Yep.
And the solar panels don't have to be made with stuff that's going to poison the land in them. So this is all stuff that can be addressed. Anyway, she said that subsidized solar projects displace farmland. And one of the complaints that she had was because of them, young people find it difficult to get land to do the farming they want to do. And I didn't look her up. I should have looked her up to find out what credentials she had, because if she's like the rest of the Trump administration, she's
has fewer credentials.
Yeah, I think she probably finished high school. But I don't know what she's, I don't know anything about her background. She could be a radio talk show host for all I know. I mean, that's where some of these people come from. Okay.
Including the president.
What?
Said including the president.
Yeah, including the president.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that I think we're going to get stuck on for a little while. And this is from ABC News, and I have
yeah.
a picture of a dinner that includes shrimp. It includes other seafood there. I can see a little octopus and
Well,
stuff.
the FDA warns public not to eat possibly radioactive shrimp sold at Walmart.
I read this and I thought, what? U.S. Customs and Border Protection alerted the FDA that possible radioactive cesium-137 was detected in shipping containers at 4 U.S. ports. So 4 shipping containers, at least 4, because it could have been more than 1 at each port, were stopped because they were radioactive. This is according to the Food and Drug Administration. No shrimp in the United States food supply were found to be radioactive. So if you found shrimp at Walmart, it was probably safe, but they're recalling all of this stuff.
Yes.
The source of cesium-137 in the shrimp is not known.
No.
And this is appalling. I've got a long note here, and I'm interested in hearing what you have to say on it, but I'd like to read the note. Cesium-137 is not a natural isotope. It is created in a nuclear reactor or by a nuclear bomb. That's the first thing. Cesium salts are highly soluble, so it spreads rapidly in the water, which means that this must have been created recently. Nuclear test ban treaty was in the summer and the fall of 1963, so this didn't get created before that happened. We would have seen it all along. The banned shrimp was from one brand, BMS Foods in Indonesia. The FDA is looking to find the source, but Indonesia doesn't have any nuclear power plants, and neither does any nation bordering on Indonesia. They're looking to build them. There are 3 test facilities in Indonesia, but where, and maybe the cesium came from one of them. But this is, I find this, and they said, by the way, that if a person ate shrimp on one occasion with the cesium, it was probably not going to give them cancer or anything. But if they stuck with the shrimp, they were asking for trouble. And I find this mind-blowing. The world is pursuing a path to nuclear power, and it's like it just doesn't have the mental capacity to figure out that Fukushima was real.
Yep.
And I could go down a long list of problems that we've had. Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, but 3 Mile Island wasn't the only meltdown in the United States. We had Fermi just outside of Detroit, but we had the sodium reactor experiment, which was actually generating electricity and putting it on the grid, which lost a bunch of radioactive material, and nobody ever bothered to find out how much. I'm just appalled by this.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by the fact that it's unknown where this comes from, because there would not be information about where it came from, because they would never be reported, first of all, where it came from.
Well,
because
BMS Foods may have bought this shrimp from someplace in China or something like that.
That's what I mean, is that would not ever appear in an article. Like, that would never even appear in an article where this is from. I mean, we don't know the source of so many, of true. These kinds of things.
Yes.
We don't know just that Ohio train. Remember that Ohio train that there was that train crash, and there was this chemical. It had radioactive, or it didn't have radioactive, but it had industrial materials on it. We don't know what that actual source was. They didn't reveal what the actual source was. That
kind of thing happens frequently.
Frequently.
And, I remember just, I think I opened a newspaper, and on the cover, I was in New York at the time, there was a description of how basically the front of a building in Manhattan had just blown out. And the reason was because natural gas had accumulated in an elevator shaft, and the shaft blew up. And find it on the internet. That wasn't that long ago. But if you look, you'll find things like that happen every few months. And they get reported, mostly locally. We had that horrible thing where natural gas was blowing up in houses in the Nashua River Valley. And how many people remember that? You know, it's like, and it killed people. There was a house that blew up, and the chimney fell over on a car, and the boy who was sitting in the car died. But houses are not supposed to blow up.
Right. And 3 Mile Island was a lot of that sort of, oh, everything's okay. You guys are all just freaking out for no reason. You don't get it. It's fine.
Like the farmer who said, when the reporter asked him, so your cows aren't acting strange? No, the cows aren't acting strange. They're not lining up by the fence and looking at the plant. You could see the plant from the farm. No, they're not doing that. So everything's normal here. And the farmer said, normal? Man, you're in a dairy barn and there are no flies. And when I heard that, I was just like, whoa, what is this all about? Now, recently I've thought maybe it was a joke that some news program was doing, because I can't find any reference to it. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was not regarded as being worthy of being kept on record. I don't know. I just don't know. But there are things that do that. We should go on. We're almost done.
Yeah.
This is funny because every time I see this picture, I think that looks like the front lens, the corrector lens, in a catadioptic telescope. This is a telescope where you have a lens that looks like it's made out of window glass. It's actually shaped and it has a function. But one function is to hold in the middle of it a mirror, and the light comes through that lens and it goes to the back of the telescope that has a mirror with a hole in the middle, and it is focused on that mirror in the front, which focuses it back through the hole in the middle and then to the eyepiece. And so you can have, I had an 11-inch telescope, which is about 12 inches in diameter. It was only about 3 feet long. If it had been a refractor, I wouldn't have been able to fit it in. I wouldn't have been able to do anything with it. Anyway, let's talk.
Yeah. So this is from Renews. U.S. extends 50% tariff to wind turbines.
The Department of Commerce added 407 product categories to Section 232 steel and aluminum tariffs, which carry a 50% duty rate. The scope now covers wind turbines and components, along with other equipment such as mobile cranes, bulldozers, compressors, pumps, and rail cars. And obviously they're hoping that wind turbines are not going to delay the installation of nuclear and natural gas. I don't know. Anyway, we have to finish the program, and we're wishing everybody an immensely rewarding week. And we will wave goodbye and hope you come back next time.
Yeah.